there's a big discussion in the industry now about, is racing entertainment, or or do you need something else to augment racing for it to be entertainment? Well, I think racing should be entertainment. I think we probably have a good amount of people in the industry who just look at racing as racing, and they've been in it so long they've forgotten that they're entertained by it.
Hey guys, I'm Josh Brown.
And I'm Jordan Stevens.
And you're watching the Cars and Health Bars podcast. Let's get right into the episode. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Cars and Health Bars. As you see, I and Jordan are joined by Scott Kosak from GITS. How are you doing, Scott?
I'm doing awesome. I'm doing awesome. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely. So we ran into Scott actually at PRI back in December, actually at a seminar, wild enough. And it's funny, little side story here at the start. We almost weren't even able to go to the seminars. It's so crazy. It might have even been Scott that pulled us aside. I can't remember. It's been a few months ago, but we were there at the area where, you go into the seminars and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't even know you had to have a special sticker on your badge. And we got stopped and they're like, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" We're like, "Oh, we're attending a seminar." Like, "Oh, well, you guys aren't cleared to go to seminars and stuff." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I think, like I said, it might have been you or somebody else up there, but they're like, they're promoters. They need to go to these seminars. Like they're like the driving force here. Like, all right, like here we are getting special clearance at the desk. It was such a great thing, man.
It's that Tops Lounge area that they've created at PRI over the last few years. Track operators, promoters, and sanctions. Obviously it's a place where operators and sanctioners and owners and stuff can get a lot of information. But obviously, when you're media and when you're a podcaster and you're talking about the sport, we need you guys. The industry needs you guys as much as we need the promoters too. So have at it. I'm glad you were able to get in. And I know that Tom Deary, who kind of runs the whole thing there, he's a big proponent of having the media involved, and you guys are media, so appreciate you.
Absolutely. Before we get too much in the weeds, talk a little bit about getinthestands.com for people who maybe aren't familiar with your program or even you yourself.
Yep. So getinthestands.com, really simple, is an online directory of racetracks all across the United States. Our goal, and you see the GITS, GITS. It's about building a bridge, the GITS bridge, I call it, so that race fans can find racetracks, whether they're on their phone or whatever. And it's not an app you have to download. There's no fee. You literally go to getinthestands.com. You enter a city where you're traveling to or through. You hit search, and you get all the tracks within 100 miles, whether they're drag strips or oval courses or road courses or karting courses or even some BMX courses in there. That's our goal, is to help more fans find more fast where they live and where they're traveling to and through. That's what it's about. And for tracks, our goal is to help them invite more fans to come and see more racing.
Absolutely. That is a super useful resource, because I remember I was on vacation a few years ago and I was traveling down I-40 to Smoky Mountains, and I don't know what it was. I just looked over to my right as I was going towards there, and I was like, dang, there's a little racetrack right there. I think it might have been like a small 8-mile track. Back then, had I known about your program, I could have just punched that in real quick and just seen, what track is this? Bookmark it, come back to it whenever, I'm not on family vacation,
Yep. And the good thing is that when you do that search, there's two options. Number one, you can look at it as a list of all the tracks that are within 100 miles. You'll see the track, and for racetracks, it's free marketing, right? Every racetrack can claim their listing at absolutely no charge. That allows them to add their web links, their social media links, and so that GITS bridge can work for them. So when you do that search, you get all the tracks within 100 miles. You'll see the claimed tracks first. So you might see, tracks that are a little further away first if the closest track hasn't been claimed yet. But you can also just click the map button and you can see them all on a map, and you can pinch and scroll and zoom and all that other stuff. And, it's an easy way to, again, if you're in an area, getinthestands.com, and that's where you go to find the tracks.
Yeah, it's an awesome tool. I wish I knew about it sooner. I certainly wish during traveling I knew, and at least I know now. You know, we still got a lot of life left to live, so hopefully we can
Oh
help
yeah, you
promote
guys
it.
are
And
young. You got time.
hopefully we can promote it and use it a lot more now.
Yeah,
Absolutely appreciate that.
that does kind of there is also a downside to that. It feels like there's so many tracks that are closing. You know, that big one up in Indianapolis closed not super long ago, and it's just it's really disheartening to see the so many tracks closing up. Do you feel? I mean, you see it all day. I mean, that's your brand.
Yeah.
Do you see like more racetracks closing than opening? I mean, I would imagine so.
I think the last couple of years it's almost evened out.
Oh, good.
But again, I don't always see every track, and we rely on crowdsourcing of the information a lot because we can't. We got 1,300 tracks in the directory right now. So Get in the Stands is actually the second directory that I launched. The original one was called racingin.com, and I launched that back in 2007 or 2008.
Wow.
When I launched that one, that was there was about 1,900 tracks in the directory. So that obviously since 2007, 2008, we've definitely gone downhill. We're down to 1,300 now. Out of those 1,300, you're talking about, there's maybe 100 like county fairgrounds tracks in there that
Yeah.
are occasional tracks. But hey, you know what? If it's a track and they have a race once a year, we want them in the directory. Um,
Exactly.
there's probably 500 or 600, ovals, most of those being dirt. There's probably 400 drag strips, probably about 150 road courses, and then a bunch of others. We just added today. We added Champions Lake in Springfield, Ohio, which is a powerboating lake that
Oh,
Oh
was
wow.
built exclusively for powerboating.
that's awesome.
And we met the director of the American Powerboat Association this past weekend at some drag owners meetings, and man, we're looking forward to working with them because I had no clue how big powerboating was,
Oh yeah.
and they have almost 100 events that they sanction nationwide every year. And
Wow.
it boggled my mind. So we're
Yeah.
we're looking forward to connecting with them and bringing, for us, for Get in the Stands, it's all about kind of being Switzerland of motorsports, right? If
Okay.
we don't care whether it's drag racing, circle track, dirt, asphalt, whatever it is, we just want to help more fans find more fast, and that's simple as it is.
That's a
Uh,
great message.
I don't know if you've heard local. I don't know if it's necessarily a track, but they do host something every year in Owensboro. It's a hydro fair, and they do power boats there. I don't know
Okay.
if you've heard of that.
Yep.
That might be something to look into.
I haven't. My guess is if it's power boating, my guess is that the APBA has their hand in it. They mentioned that obviously a lot of their racing is done on lakes and rivers all around the
Hmm.
United States. There aren't a lot of. I mean, Lucas Oil Speedway in Missouri. I think they have a drag lake. Um, they're building one down in Auburndale, Florida, I believe. Uh, so there's a few, case specific, but overall, I know, God, it goes back 20 years. I went and I saw the power boats racing, and I think they were really small, but I saw them on the Kankakee River in Kankakee, Illinois, and they were zipping up and down. I mean, it was crazy what they were. That was amazing to watch.
Ain't it crazy
And
how fast they are? You would
oh
not
my
expect
God,
that.
it's almost like you almost feel like you're watching a remote control
Yeah.
boat, like it goes zoom, 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 zoom. And yeah, it's just amazing, and people just line the riverbanks and tailgate and have fun and
Yeah.
have a good time.
It's
So
great to see motorsports expanding outside of pavement, like like you said, going to the dirt, and now taking to the lakes and the rivers. Like it's great to see. I mean, we talk about motorsports. A lot of people see EVs and stuff and worry about the future of motorsports, but I feel like, man, I'm young. You can definitely speak more on this, but I feel like motorsports is more alive and well than I've seen it in my lifetime, at least. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with not only these influencers, but like these drag and drive events. I feel like that is really
yeah,
taken over the drag space because, you get there's such an element on drag racing, but then you take the element of making that car go 100, 200, 300 miles to the other drag strip.
yeah,
I just feel like motorsports is so alive with these different aspects, what people are doing to expand the sport.
yeah. I mean, and drag and drive events, that's something that I want to get more knowledge about in the next year or two. But you just look at what like Garrett Mitchell / Cletus McFarland and what he's done over the past let's just say I think 6 or 7 years since he was at 1280.com or and what he's done and Travis Pastrana, a motocross guy.
Yeah.
And a Red Bull guy, and what he's doing, and he's in NASCAR, and running the truck race on Friday, and Cletus is running on Friday. But I mean, Cletus has his interest in Bradenton now, and he's got the Freedom Factory down there, and they really are they're making motorsports more entertaining.
Absolutely.
And whether it's drag racing, and I think there's a big discussion in the industry now about, is racing entertainment, or do you need something else to augment racing for it to be entertainment? Well, I think racing should be entertainment. I think we probably have a good amount of people in the industry who just look at racing as racing, and they've been in it so long they've forgotten that they're entertained by it.
That's a great way of putting that.
And that's not a bad thing. That's just an is thing. And I think what's happening now, and I'm meeting a lot more younger people who are getting involved in racing. And when I say younger, I mean under 40 who are getting involved in racing. I was down in Cottonwood, Alabama over the weekend on my way back, coming back from Florida, and I stopped at Cottonwood Speedway and Cottonwood Dragway, and they're both on the same property. It's a 1/8 mile drag strip, unsanctioned, a lot of outlaw stuff down there. And then it's a 3/8 mile clay oval. And I met the owner who literally bought it a year ago. He's in year 2 of a 2-year plan now. I mean, I don't know how old the owner is, but I wouldn't put him as anywhere over 30 or 35 at the oldest.
Wow.
And he bought this and I just told him, like, this is a beautiful piece of property. And he's like, well, we got some work to do. But you got to start with a canvas before you can make it a Picasso, right? And I threw up a video of just a track visit down there, and it's already had like 13,000 views in 2 days. Just me standing there talking about what the facility is. It's a 3/8 mile oval, dirt oval. It's an 1/8 mile drag strip. And it's just southeast of Dothan, Alabama. So there's 400,000 people who live within a 50-mile radius, and that's a lot of motorsports fans in that. So, but to get back to your original point, I honestly believe that we are realizing that entertainment and motorsports are their equivalent, right? Racing is entertainment, and you can do things to augment it too. With monster trucks and demolition derbies and figure 8 racing and all that other stuff. And, again, that's a lot of circle track stuff, but even oval stuff. I mean, National Trail, which is now Durana in Ohio. I mean, they had the Hillbilly, I forget what they call it, the Hillbilly something or whatever, where they actually did like drag racing demolition derby style.
Oh, wow.
And it was, I don't know.
Really entertaining.
That was when it was National Trail. I don't know if that's going to continue this year, but I mean, they sell the place out for events like that. I'm not sure how their insurance people feel about it, but it's motorsports is entertainment, and if it wasn't, NASCAR wouldn't get 6 million people watching the Daytona 500 this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people are passing their time watching entertainment, and Tony Stewart and Leah. Getting the amount of exposure that they get when Tony moved into drag racing, and obviously married Leah and drove the car for her last year. Now she's back. I think that's going to be an amazing story this year.
100%.
Just watching the two of them. I mean, who's not waiting for the final where it's going to be Tony against Leah, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So I think it's great, and we talk about what the IHRA is doing, and I think if you're talking about multiple forms of motorsports, I mean, they've got obviously drag racing, they're doing their stock car circle track series, they've got power boating, and he bought the offshore power boating league. He's got tractor pulling, there's a couple other things in there too. And then they've got the Nitro series that's going, the Outlaw series that's going to go across the United States, and then they've got their sportsman stuff, the local drag strips, which is the offshoot of they bought the WDRA, the World Drag Racing Alliance, that was in existence for a couple of years. So I just feel like if motorsports goes in cycles like this, we're on our way up, and I think we've got 2-3 years coming where you look at what Matt Tift has done, and it's Matt Tift with Mansfield Speedway in Ohio. I mean, he's brought that one back from the dead, right? So West Virginia Motor Speedway is coming back. Maple Grove obviously being bought by IHRA, resurrected Memphis, Atlanta Dragway just got reapproved for drag racing as long as the first cars aren't allowed past or before noon on Sunday, or I think it was the only stipulation. But what? There's,
like you said, Garrett Mitchell too. I mean, who would have thought Bradenton Motorsports Park? I mean, if you, I mean, I'm sure you saw the state it was in prior to him buying it. Who thought that track would get resurrected? I mean, it looked like a cornfield with like pavement in it. I mean, it looked terrible, like cracked pavement, growed up. It looked terrible.
Yep. And you know what? In Palm Beach International Raceway, I mean, I'm not sure what the status of the rejuvenation of that is. I think there's some people trying to get that back too.
Yeah.
But and there are some tracks that have gone away. And I think Atco in Florida or New Jersey was one of them. A few of them in the past couple of years. And you know what? It's reality. I mean, the value of real estate nowadays for somebody who's been in it for many, many years and who sees an opportunity has an exit strategy after doing it for so long. I mean, you can't blame them.
Yeah.
And not everything's always going to be a racetrack, but the ones that are remaining, and then there's ones that are coming. I mean, out in Arizona, Desert West Speedway. I mean, the guy took a blank plot of land in the desert and he built a dirt oval, and he's going to have a BMX track or a motocross track there too. There's as much as people can talk about, oh my God, there's tracks closing left and right.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of excitement about some things that are going on.
For sure. There's always opportunity for new tracks to come in when any are closing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I feel like as racers, as some tracks are definitely closer than others, but I mean, most drag strips are far and few between. And I mean, us as racers will drive to go to something. It's like they say, like you build it and they will come 100%. Like I think me and a few of Jordan's buddies were talking about going all the way down to Bradenton to Cletus's track, checking it out sometime.
Yeah.
Like
that's awesome.
It's just such a cool track, and hitting up some stuff in between. I mean, it's all about the journey. The destination is just the icing on top of the cake,
Yeah, no, and enjoy it, because I mean, I did 3,100 miles since last Wednesday from Chicago. I drove down, and I was at the meetings in Palm Bay for the drag operators meetings. I was actually down there with Larson Motorsports, is where the meetings were held. So I met Elaine Larson and Josette, who drive the 300 mile an hour jet racers, the jet dragsters.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh my God! Met the two of them, and they had all their cars lined up in there, and oh my God, that was amazing. And Elaine and Josette, are the drivers of those all around, and looking at what they're doing down there with education. They've got Florida Technical University, or Florida Tech or Technical something. I forget. I think it's Florida Tech involved, and they're doing all kinds of education and getting students involved, and it's really cool. It's some really cool stuff. But then I went from there. I went up to Volusia for one night, saw some racing there. I drove back through Alabama, went to Cottonwood, drove by Pine Ridge in Mississippi. So yeah, there's lots to see when you're on the road for sure.
Absolutely. I feel like too, some of these tracks have such big events. I mean, it drives you to go there. Like, I was telling you, we're fortunate enough to have a Beach Bend here in our backyard, and that's the event that obviously brings in the most people is LS Fest. I mean, it's been going on for, I don't know, 10 years or so now. And I'll never forget talking to a guy that had a drift car. I think it might've been a 350Z. He was like, yeah, I'm from Australia. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, that's insane.
That's awesome.
Like, you got people come from all over the globe to our hometown, pretty much our hometown drag strip. It's like, man, it just really makes us feel so fortunate that, we're, less than an hour away from such a popular track. And it's, and like I said, we got National Corvette
too.
Museum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's not even that far from Beach Bend. I mean, they're just right there hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in Bowling Green, I actually pulled up some data. I pulled up on Getting the Stands, obviously.
Yeah.
If you do the 100-mile circle, there are 19 or 17 tracks within 100 miles of Bowling Green, and that's. But if you narrow it down to 50, we can give you a little data here if you want. And this is where when I'm talking to promoters, I'm always talking to them about the audience that you have is a loyal audience that you've got, and you've spent a lot of time making sure that they're happy and giving them great product and making sure that they're seeing the kinds of things that they want. But the reality is, grassroots racing is relatively unknown by the majority of mainstream motorsports folks. So, you get NASCAR on mainstream TV, you get NHRA events on mainstream TV,
right?
You get F1, you get some IndyCar, but beyond that, the general public doesn't have a clue what bracket racing is.
Yeah.
The general public doesn't have a clue, who might be a NASCAR fan, who doesn't have a clue what a heat race is. Like they just know what qualifying is, and they know that happens a day before. But if you're talking about bracket racing, and I know a lot of times bracket racing at drag strips isn't necessarily deemed a spectator event, right? It's very much a participant event, because there can be a lot of time. There can be a lot of time between runs and all that other stuff, and then getting the track prepped and all that other stuff. So it can be a lot of downtime. But when you have the true spectator events when you get the national series coming through and all that other stuff, then you see the people come out. But here's the deal. And so within Bowling Green, Kentucky, there's 5 tracks within 50 miles. There are about 775,000 people between the ages of 18 and 60. And this is data that I get from the Meta ad engine, if you will.
Uh-huh.
So there's about 775,000 users on Meta within 50 miles of Bowling Green. 235,000 of them have some interest in auto racing or motorsports, and 55,000 have shown some interest in drag racing.
Wow.
I mean, 55,000 people within 50 miles, and there's only 2 drag strips in that circle.
Crazy.
You got Beach Bend and you got Music City Raceway, right?
Yeah.
Now Music City's massive. They've got 60,000 followers. Beach Bend, obviously, with the LS Fest, they've got a huge following. They've got a great event, but they're a little bit more grassroots than a Music City Raceway, if you will.
Yeah.
They've got 11,000 followers. But I mean, even if you think about mechanics, right, and you think about test and tunes and things like that. So if you just look on in the Facebook data and you look for people who've identified or an interest in either being a mechanic or car repair or have interest in things like that, or they're employed as a mechanic, there's 180,000 people.
I believe it.
Who have shown some interest or are employed as a mechanic in that same 50 miles, and 35,000 of them also have an interest in drag racing.
Wow.
So
that's enough to fill the stands, 10, 20 times over?
Exactly. And you know what? So we did it last year. So a lot of the first several years of Getting the Stands, a lot of what we've done has really been working with a lot more circle tracks. Last year, we ended up doing a relationship with the WDRA, the World Drag Racing Association. So we ended up working with a few drag strips. Keystone in Pennsylvania, Empire up in Leicester, New York. We did some work with Skyline near Binghamton, New York. And I will tell you, I was always amazed at how engaged dirt racing fans are and circle track fans are. Yeah. But the engagement and I'm just talking about being engaged on social media and wanting to learn about events. The engagement level of drag racing fans blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. To the point where even when we were promoting some of the test and tune events at Keystone and Empire, we were actually getting click-throughs from our website to theirs for test and tunes.
Wow.
It wasn't a lot. I mean, we got, tons of click-throughs for swap meets and for their, their true spectator events, the ones that, like their Fright Nights and Pro Stocks and all that other stuff, or Pro Mods. But we even got a few clicks here and there because we were targeting those folks who are mechanics or have interest in car repair or car culture, and who also have an interest in drag racing. I mean, how many people even know that you can show up in your daily driver sometimes and just do a spectator drag, right? And just see what you do, pay $10-15 for a ticket and take a run down, and, you got to have a seatbelt, obviously. And some tracks are a little bit more rigid than others, but yeah, I mean, there are a lot more people out there who, and that's our goal with Getting the Stands. Our goal isn't to get you guys to go to your local drag strip because you know who it is, right? Or you know where it is. But our goal is to get that mainstream motorsports fan who doesn't have a clue what's near them, just to get out and get there one time, because surveys say if they get there once, they're going to go back more times.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it started with me and Jordan. I mean, it all started just LS Fest, and it's just like, dang, this track's got more than just that going on. They've got the Tri-5, and then it turns into the smaller events, like you said, the test and tunes. Like, dang, I can go take my Camaro.
Cars and coffee,
Cars
how many people go to those every month?
Oh my God! And when you do a car show as part of it, I mean, it's just I mean, the tracks that turn their tests and tunes into a Friday night car show, and then, oh wait, there's a car show, oh wait, there's some drag racing going on, let me go watch that. And they got food trucks and they're serving concessions, and that's where tracks make their money.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm surprised Beach Bend does not do that more. They have such a great spot for it, and I think they are starting to get more in that way
this year.
I don't know anywhere else local that really does that,
I think tracks are starting to realize the opportunity, and I think it's it's kind of a ripple effect, right? So every time I go and I start a new year and talking to tracks about promotional ideas, and I'm not a promoter, all right? I've never run a track, I've never raced a car. Well, I mean, I've done some car racing here and there, but I'm a digital marketer, right? I'm all about finding the people and connecting them with stuff to do. But I've been working with grassroots racing for 15 years now, and to understand, to help these promoters realize, okay, where's the opportunity? Because number one, the reality is racetrack promoters, whether drag strip or circle track, they are usually under-resourced. They don't have enough time, money, or talent in terms of surrounding them. The number of employees, when I say talent, I don't mean them individually. I mean the number of employees. But they don't have enough, time, money, or people around them who are working with them to get things done. So a lot of times tracks just kind of end up doing what they've done over and over again every year, and they're having success. But when we show them these numbers and we say, look, there's 50,000 people within 50 miles who have some interest in drag racing, who also have some interest in mechanics. So there's have a theme night, it's a great way to get a sponsor, get Craftsman to come on out and sponsor a night, or, your whatever your biggest tool manufacturers, get Mac Tools to, sponsor a night or whatever, bring their truck out and sell tools for the night or whatever. But, and then have them give away, postcards or buy one, get one free tickets to, at every stop that they're making on their route throughout the next 2 or 3 weeks or whatever. So there's so many things you can do. And I think it's just a matter of helping all these promoters realize that, wow, there's a lot more people out there than I thought there were. And it's not because they're doing anything wrong. It's just because the mainstream motorsports world doesn't have a real investment in telling people about grassroots racing, right? I mean, NASCAR, they've got their NASCAR regional tracks. But now we've got IHRA, which is going to have well over 100 sanctioned tracks this year. I mean, that's just massive.
Absolutely.
That's exciting to me. And they're not shy about putting that brand out there and making sure people know about it.
Yeah. I feel like us promoters, and I mean, especially, I mean, you know, the power of social media. I feel like that's going to be the bridge between the grassroots and, you know, the small scene, because I mean, social media, we've seen it. It is I feel like it's a tool that's never going to, it just seems like it's getting bigger and bigger. I mean, we talked about influencers, you know, people that are turning somebody that maybe had an interest, a small interest, into them snowballing, them buying a car, them modifying the car, them going to the track, them going to see the person, you know, go to the person's drag strip. It's just a big snowball effect. And, you know, as for something that you're holding in your phone getting you into a hobby, it's the biggest tool to this industry, any industry really, is social media.
You know, it really reminds me of shops. Like, you know, I used to work at a tuning shop, and we had no social media, really. I mean, I would try and do some posts here and there, but I was not the guy for that. I was a mechanic. So it's similar to these tracks, I noticed, and there's so much potential that's just untapped for a lot of people.
Yeah. And you know what? A lot of tracks, they've had bad experiences on social media just because we talked about it earlier. You got the long-term diehard racers who like what they like and they want it that way. Yeah. Right. And they can be really rigid about, you know, in what they want, how they want it, when they want it. And if anything changes, they're like, oh, I don't know about this. And Facebook gives anybody a microphone that wants it. Right. Yeah. And it's not even a microphone. It's a megaphone, for crying out loud.
For sure.
So, you know, I always hear people say, oh, you know, social media is killing racing. Well, you know what? The local diner gets the same kind of horrible reviews.
Absolutely.
The local you know, landscaping company, they get bad reviews just like racetracks do.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we're trying to do is to help these track promoters realize, number one, there's ways that you can deal with that stuff online. There's moderation tools, and you can turn off comments, and there's all kinds of things you can do. But number two is, the general public, when they read stuff that's so negative, I think people have a way of seeing through BS.
Yeah.
You know, and if 95% of the comments are all positive, and then, you know, somebody comes on there and throwing negative stuff at it, I think the general public sees through that stuff. It doesn't mean that it doesn't annoy the crap out of the promoter who's seeing it, and make them feel like, you know, they've got to battle back at it. But at the same time, the good stuff shines through is my feeling. And there's ways to deal with it. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, you know, we do those trainings for promoters all the time, and kind of teach them how they can address some of those comments, how they can block keywords, and, you know, have comments automatically hidden or whatever. And so there's ways to deal with it, but yeah, I agree. Social media does 50 times more positive than it does negative, for sure.
I want to thank Blackout Coffee for sponsoring this episode of the Cars and Health Bars podcast. As you know, I work a blue-collar job just like most of you all do, and I need me a cup of joe to get me started first thing in the morning. I always like to hit some of this dark roast, brother. It puts hair on your chest, gets you good and woke up. And hey, if you got a wife like mine that loves some coffee, they've also got flavored coffee options such as jelly donut, salted mocha, cinnamon French toast. Look at the ratings on that, brother. Almost 1,500 5-star reviews. I've been drinking some of that good dark roast to get me started. And hey, they've even got instant coffee. We've all been there running late for work. Grab you one of these and dump it in your water bottle. You got coffee on the go. I want to again thank Blackout Coffee for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Go on over, support our sponsors, support our troops. Good old America. Get you a cup of Blackout Coffee, brother. Our first sponsor today, of course, you know them, you love them, Chemical Guys. They have the best car care products in the game. Of course, my favorite products here, you got the starter kits. I highly recommend the starter kits to any of our listeners because it is the greatest way to get a bulk amount of products. It's just the best bang for your buck. Even the mini arsenal, it comes with everything you need. It's got the honeydew soap, it's got the spray wax, it's got the bucket, the foam cannon, it's got everything you need. Cars 10 site-wide for 10% off your order. And our next sponsor today is Badass Extension Cords. They've got some of the highest quality extension cords in the game here. Got their outdoor extension cords pulled up. What I really like about them is they have all these customizable colors that you can do, and you can even have unique writing on them to make them say whatever you want. They've got the 50-foot pro cable with 6 outlets, going along the whole entire court. These cords are some of the highest quality that you have around. You need some of these in your shop. Even the indoor ones, they go all the way up to 100 foot. They go all the way down to 25 foot. Why not pick up a badass extension cord for your shop so you can make sure that you do not lack anything whenever it comes to working on your project? You need that for those power tools. You know you do. With that being said, guys, head on over to Badass Extension Cords, pick you up a cord, and use our affiliate link so they know we sent you. I want to thank Speedway Motors for sponsoring the podcast. One of my favorite parts, wiring harness. They have a DIY wiring harness, so if you are not that good at wiring, they have a full kit that is a universal. You just pick what circuit you want. It is as simple as you get it. They have a lot of parts for your older cars. It's hard to beat these deals. Some of the best prices, that's always what I've known them for, is the really good prices, the really good quality. So yeah, guys, hop on over there, see if they've got something for your build, and use our affiliate link so they know that we sent you. And with that being said, guys, let's get right back into the topic. Yeah, there was one other thing I took away from your seminar. We talked about it a little bit before we got started, but you talk about tracks not posting during the off season, and I mean, I've even noticed it myself that that page, that racetrack page slowly works its way out of your algorithm, and then by the time it's like race season again, it's done. Your phone doesn't see you interacting with their posts because they're not posting, so you don't even know. Like, some people don't even know racing started this year because it's just like it's worked its way so far out of your feed, you just have no idea.
It is, and I mean, racetracks work so hard to kind of build up their audience, right? And then the season ends, and everybody's like, I can relax, right?
Yeah.
And you're just trying to chill. But if you stop, you lose the audience. So, I mean, the reality is we try and tell tracks, and I talked about some of this in the training, and even for you guys, your podcasters, I mean, you go through your feed on Facebook, and you've got snippets of your shows, just little 1 minute cut ups. You just give people a little bit here and there to watch and keep them engaged. Racetracks, put up a fill in. My favorite race last year was blank, and then let people comment. You know what? If you've got 5,000 or 6,000 fans, they're gonna comment. And it's just a matter of, get your racers to give them give you photos of the work that they're doing in the off season, or the new engine they're dropping in their drag car, or whatever it is, or the new body they bought, or something like that. And just little silly stuff like that. You don't always have to be selling an event or yelling Sunday. It's just all about giving people something that they like, because you know what, race fans, they forget about it too. Right. So it's up to the racetracks to keep it top of mind. And like you said, as long as you can keep putting a little stuff out there without having to feel like you're pushing stuff down people's throats, I think it's a good thing. I've seen a lot of tracks, and I've actually gotten a lot of notes from tracks that were like, oh my God, my engagement is actually higher now than it was during the season, just because I didn't stop posting. And I'm like, that's awesome. You know what? That's the kind of stuff that tells me that if we can find the right stuff that keeps people engaged, then everything's going to take care of itself, is my thinking about it.
Yeah, I remember at your seminar you had mentioned having personas too. I can't remember the exact example.
Oh, yeah.
I remember as a girl, as like a weather girl, I think. Yeah, that's such an awesome way.
Bree sang, I think her name, Brianna sang, up at Norman County Raceway up in Minnesota or South Dakota. She just took on this persona of the weather girl. And she's also their announcer. She's the daughter of the track owner, who's also a racer. And she literally would, every Thursday, she'd go out in a video, and she'd put on an odd costume, or just deadpan it. And it's Keystone Raceway in Pennsylvania has their guy Glenn, who, when racing starts, he gets out there. Hey, it's Glenn. It's test and tune day. This is what we're doing. This is when we're doing it. And I think promoters being under-resourced and not having all the people around them to do what they want to do, or feeling like they have to do it all themselves. You guys are young, right? There are people out there who know how to do this stuff, right? I'm not a big video guy, right? I mean, I threw up a video this weekend. It's got 13,000 views of my visit to Cottonwood Speedway. But I'm not a producer of stuff. I'm not the most, creative guy in terms of coming up with a gimmick or shtick or whatever. But if you've got an audience who likes your track and you give them a person who's the voice of your track, who's as passionate about the track as they are, they're going to give them stuff that they want. And they're going to watch them, and they're going to have fun, and they're going to enjoy it. So, and they're going to keep them engaged, which is more than anything. So, yeah, I mean, if every track can find their person, if you will, that helps them get the message out, so the promoter doesn't have to do it on their own. That's worth its weight in gold for sure. And gold's pretty expensive nowadays too.
Right. I just, kind of branching off that, getting the youth and, kids into racing, I feel like is such an important message, man. It makes me so happy to see, maybe not even like a teenager, just like a dad out there. Like I take my daughter to LS Fest. I think might have been the first time last year, but like just getting young people into racing, because I get hung up on the EVs. I feel like it's just, people are so afraid that it's going to take over. It's just like, no, racing is not going anywhere, people. Like we need to keep showing our youth and our kids they're the next generation of racers. They're the next generation of track owners, of spectators. Like we don't need to let this die out. It's like you said, I feel like we're on just like an up and up, and social media is going to continue to push that ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And I mean, heck, people are even going to race EVs too. I mean, you know what? There's going to be a place for them. I mean, there's a Formula EV, I think, or a Formula E right now.
Yeah.
I've seen it on Fox Sports, or on one of the channels, one of the sports channels, occasionally on a Saturday or Sunday, and it's like they're timed races, and they're, they don't have the sound of a gas engine, obviously.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you think about, I've gone to drag strips, and it amazes me the number of junior dragsters that are out there.
Yeah.
15, 20, 30 junior dragsters at an event at Keystone when I went to. There were probably a dozen or so at one at Empire Dragway up in New York that I went to. And then the tuner culture is really interesting to me, right? So you got a lot of drifting going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, when I was growing up, people had their Camaros and their Monte Carlos and their Le Mans and all those other things. And, those cars were easy to work on. I mean, cars are not easy to work on nowadays. They're just, they're harder. But you've got this tuner culture too, who's doing the electronic tuning and stuff like that. And they're finding ways to have fun. And if the industry can find ways to pull people out of those intersections and pull them to the race course, there's definite upside. Even in the circle track world, the rise of mini wedges for kids is just, it's amazing. Up in the upper Midwest, and I don't know how much they are down in Ohio and Kentucky area, but up in Michigan and Northern Ohio, the mini wedges, there's Thunderbird Speedway or Thunderbird Raceway in Muskegon, Michigan, I was at last year. And I think they had about 25 or 30 mini wedges spread around, 2 age ranges. I think they were like 7 to 11 and 11 to 14 or something like that. But yeah, I mean, and they're all tricked out and painted, and they've got, cool little slogans on the back deck wing and all that other stuff. And these kids are just cruising around that little mini oval inside the track, and they're having a great time. I think it's going. It's not what it used to be, but I think when you look at, with the Crown Vic classes at Circle Tracks, that's something. There's millions of Crown Vics in junkyards all over the U.S. Right?
Isn't that the best thing ever? I don't know why. I love watching those races. I'm just like, this is like redneck NASCAR right here.
It's, what? And the rules package that they're putting out is like, no, it's got to be stock. Put a roll cage in it, put a 5-point in it, and you're racing it. It's got to stay. You got to keep the electronics. You got to keep the engine. You got to keep the carb, and make people race them as they were built. And those cars, man, they're freaking bulletproof.
I
They
know.
are.
Why is it so entertaining
You know?
to watch that? It's just like this used to be a police interceptor. Over here watching them go rounds in the oval, like it's so entertaining.
And I think it's just because I think that's it. I think people relate to that, you know, and I mean now, I mean every cop drives an SUV for crying out loud. So what are we
Yeah.
are we going to be seeing the Ford Explorer class in 10 years? I mean, God, who knows what that's going to be? But that, you know, that's going to be tomorrow's minivan. But you know, but man, I mean, it's good because it's giving. I think one of the biggest challenges in racing is that it's gotten really expensive.
Yeah.
It's gotten real. I mean, $20,000 for a roller chassis and a circle track. I mean, and that doesn't include the engine, the transmission, or anything else.
Right.
You know, but if you can get the Crown Vics and you can do just spectator drags, right?
Yeah.
And the drag and drive, and let people know the opportunities that are out there. I mean, I was flipping through I think it was the latest PRM magazine. I think there was an article on the best drag and drive engines. Maybe I was just scrolling through. It was the last couple of days I saw it, but you know, that's a whole different class, right? And then you got people who are, you know, fixing up their vintage cars and their antique cars and everything. So that car culture, and then, you know, they might not want to race those, but they might see somebody racing something similar, right? Like, you know, there's drag strips all across the U.S. where somebody's got a 32 Ford Coupe and they've turned it into a dragster and they're having fun with it. So
Yeah.
you know, anyway, it's I agree. Getting kids involved is amazing, and I'm glad, Josh, that you bring your daughter, and hopefully she gets a little bit of itch in her foot and wants to put that throttle down some point.
Oh,
in a safe way for sure.
It took me by storm because this was the first time that I took her to the drag strip, and it was just me and her, just a little daddy daughter day, and I think they were doing somebody oiled down the track, so they were re-prepping the track. I was like, hey, I said, let's go. I might have said, let's go watch some drifting while they re-prep the track's going to be washed. She's like, no, I want to wait. I want to see that car run because they backed off to the last set. I'm like, are you serious? She's like, yeah, I want to watch. I was like, dang, all right. It's just it just kind of made me so happy to see, you know, her interested in something like that. You know, she's always been around, you know, me having Camaros and stuff to see like that kind of that wash off on her and her actually getting interested in that, man. It just made me so happy to be, you know, a dad and everything like that. And I hope other dads, like, you know, just a little sidebar, I hope other dads, you know, get their girls, their sons out to drag strips and stuff, because I mean, that gives you an excuse to get in the stands, and it also gives, you know, a good reason to spend some quality time with your kid.
No, totally, absolutely. I mean, my first exposure to grassroots racing, my father worked the pit gates at Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut when I was 11, 12, 13 years old. And that's when I mean, going back all that time, that was my first exposure to grassroots racing in the 80s.
Wow.
You know, and I kind of got away from it for a while, and then I ended up back in it in the, you know, the early 2000s, you know, getting involved with NASCAR, and then ended up back in the grassroots world with the directories that I launched. But yeah, I mean, it's having a parent show you the way, or going with a friend whose parents bringing them or whatever. Absolutely great entry point into racing for sure.
That's what got me into it. I remember there was a dirt track literally not even a quarter mile from my house. It's shut down now, but that was probably the first exposure I had to any type of racing, and I still remember that actually. I think it's probably what got me into it. And then I remember going to Beach Bend with my dad, and then, you know, I drove his truck to the hot rod reunion. It got me into it, and I've spread it to my friends. And kind of going back to the Crown Vics, I want to mention that Goodlettsville, Tennessee. I was there in the fall, and they had a Crown Vic class. I've never seen so many Crown Vics on a track. I mean, it had to be like almost 30. It had to be like 25. God. I've never seen so many. It was awesome. That's probably the most entertaining circle track I've ever been to.
It really goes.
Was that at was that at Highland Rim?
I think that's Highland Rim. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I'm not local there, but my coworker lives like right next to it, and he's like, "You got to go." So I went.
Yeah.
It's like you said, Scott, earlier. Just like it kind of puts racing down to a eye level thing. Like, it is a money game in a lot of aspects. But you see somebody out there with a Crown Vic, like I can get one on Marketplace pretty easy and find me a decent welder. Like I can put a roll cage in something. You think horsepower. Like, no, you just get out there and drive.
Yeah, because you know what, you still got to turn, so you can't be going full throttle the whole time.
Right. I want to talk about one more key thing before we close out here. You see community more than anybody. I mean, I feel like you almost are a community, as far as the directory goes. How can people, us as spectators, maybe not so much the people that work at the tracks and stuff, but how can we involve more community into our local tracks and just one surrounding? Like you said, Music City Drag's near us too.
I think it's just a matter of inviting people to come. I think tracks as a whole need to do a better job of just inviting more people who might be fringe fans or whatever, or going to a school and handing out packets of tickets to the local PTA or whatever. But I think racers can do an awesome thing by working with their sponsors to have times, if they've got a retail sponsor who's got a bricks and mortar store or whatever, park your car in front of the store for a day and invite their fans out. But I mean, if they're on a main thoroughfare, there's going to be people driving by who didn't know that there's a race car in town, right? And they're going to be like, and the kid's going to be like, oh, I want to go, and it's little things like that. I was listening to, Kenny Wallace does his Kenny Conversations.
Yeah.
And he had Scott Woodruff on, who's one of the heads at IHRA now, and he was the vice president of marketing or head of marketing at JAGS for a long time. And he's always been this guerrilla marketer. Like, how can you get seen more? Period. How can you get seen more? Whether it's your logo, whether it's your product, what have you. And I think if racers found a way to work with their sponsors and said, hey, you know what? I want to come and park my car in front of your shop for the afternoon. You're on a thoroughfare. I'm park it there. And you know what? I'm going to talk the track and I'm going to get 20 pairs of tickets to bring with me. And I'm going to put it on Facebook and I'm going to tell people I'll be out with, giving away tickets or whatever. Or you know what? Why don't you put it in your ad, giving away 20 pairs of tickets or whatever? Stuff like that. It's just a matter of inviting people. I think, Jordan, when you mentioned, you got to a track and you just loved it. Well, it's not just the cars going around it or going straight or whatever. It's the people too, right?
For sure.
It's not too often you get to a track and you come across people who are in bad moods. I mean, right. Yeah, sometimes you are if they got in a wreck or whatever. But as a whole, the crowd of people that you meet at a track are usually having smiles on their faces.
For sure.
And whether it's a drag strip or a circle track, bring somebody who hasn't been. I mean, I live in the western suburbs of Chicagoland, and there's not a lot of racetracks near me. I mean, we got Grundy County, which is about 25 miles away. And I'm bringing all my bourbon drinking buddies. We're going to go down. I'm going to take them down to Grundy County, and then I'm going to take them out to, and that's an asphalt oval. I'm going to take them to Sycamore, which is a dirt oval. And I'm going to say, hey, you guys have never been. And it's just a matter of taking people out and being like, hey, if you've never seen this, at least go once.
Hey, yeah.
And we're all in our upper 40s, low 50s or whatever. And we might not have young kids anymore, but damn, I mean, we can go and have a good time and go back 2 or 3 times a year too. And that's how you spread the word. And then you take pictures, share them on social media, tag the track. It's just a matter of spreading the word. And, like I said, for promoters too, inviting people who you don't think might be interested and, give them a try. Don't rule them out just because you think they might be not be interested. Just give them a try. And the worst they can do is not show up and use those free passes that you gave out. Doesn't cost you anything to give them out. You know what? The worst thing they can do is actually use them. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't even think about it that way.
I mean, if you give out 100 free tickets and nobody shows up, what'd you lose? You lost $20 in print, maybe. But if two of those people show up and they've never been before and they bring their family of four, I mean, you've got $100 in concession stands right there to somebody who'd never come before.
Yeah.
It's just simple guerrilla marketing and getting the word out. And like you said, what we can do, you know, what I do, and I tell promoters this also and tell racers this is, you know, if you're a racer and you've got a racer page, whether it be Facebook or Instagram or whatever, do you share your racing page stuff to your personal page so that your personal friends all know that you're a racer? And hey, did you see, you know, I raced at Jones drag strip last night. Here's my car, or here's a video of my run. You know, at the 1/8 mile, I hit 165 at the end. And how many, and they put that on their racer pages because they got their fans or whatever, but how many of them actually then share it to their personal page? And I guarantee a lot of racers have a lot of friends who'd be like, you race? What?
Yeah.
You know, you're going 165? Holy crap. And somebody might be like, I want to see that. When are you racing again? You know, and it's just a matter of, don't get locked into, I can only talk about racing with race fans. And that's probably the simplest thing I can say is don't get locked into assuming that if somebody's not already a race fan that they're not going to be interested, because they very well might be.
Yeah, I mean, you never know until you ask. One guy I went to high school with, I just so happened to run into him at a car show one time. I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even recognize him at first. I'm like, are you here with somebody? He's like, no, that's my car over there. I'm like, oh my God, you're into cars? Like, that's crazy. I had no idea.
That's awesome.
That's how it goes, though. Well, Scott, where can people find you, find stuff about Gits, and of course, you know, just get in the stands in general?
You know, getinthestands.com, and we are incredibly active on Facebook. We've got an Instagram page. We haven't done a bunch on TikTok yet. We haven't done a bunch of that stuff, but you know what? I mean, the bottom line is go to getinthestands.com. There's pop-ups to sign up for our newsletters if people want to get our newsletters about what racing's coming up. You know, racetracks. If you're a racetrack owner or promoter, by all means, find your track in the listing and claim it. Get your information up there so that Gits Bridge can work for you. And you know, if you want to invest a few bucks in doing some race date promotion, by all means, we're going to make more fans find more racing at your track too. But you know, bottom line is, whenever you're traveling, just go to getinthestands.com, enter the city you're going to or through, and find all the tracks within 100 miles and hit one or two up. Have fun.
For sure.
And I'll say we just, of course, PRI was, you know, a few months ago, so it'll be a while. But if you are a track promoter or whatever, get to this man's seminars. We're not even track owners, and we thoroughly enjoyed it and took so much away from it. Scott, if you have another seminar next year, whatever, guys, go find him at one of these events, because you have a just wealth of knowledge as far as like operating a track, operating social media. Like, you are the guru as far as social media goes, as far as with tracks and stuff.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, a lot of what I do is try and point out the things that a lot of tracks are already doing. So there's some tracks out there doing really good stuff that make it easy for me to point out some things that they're doing. Like I said, I'm a marketing guy, so I bring the theory to it and the logic to it, and just give tracks ways to do it. I mean, one thing to know is that you don't have to wait till PRI either, because you know we've got about 250 of those 1,300 tracks that have actually claimed their listings. So throughout the year, I actually do some of those, you know, 15, 20-minute seminars just throughout the year for those promoters who are engaged with us already, and they don't cost them anything.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it's all a matter of, you know, obviously we talked about earlier that promoters, they're resource constrained, and time is their biggest resource, right? So, you know, trying to put out, you know, 5-10-minute videos of things that they can do. And we've got a private Facebook group for all the promoters and everything. And we're launching a little bit of a support group community, kind of like an old message board kind of thing in a couple weeks, where promoters will be able to interact with each other, and just share ideas. So, you know, there's just, I appreciate your kind words.
Absolutely.
But it's the promoters who are doing all the hard work. I'm just helping them kind of see the bright lights and where they can they can make them a little brighter. So, and thank you guys for what you do. I mean, however big or small your audience is, I mean, 5, 10 more people, 500,000 more people or whatever, it's getting more people to enjoy motorsports and then wanting to tell other people about it. That's gold, man. It's, and thank you for what you're doing to, and you're combining it with gaming. So, you're getting some younger folks too, who, I mean, that's awesome that you're doing that. I appreciate that wholeheartedly for sure. And thank you for having me too. I very much appreciate the invite, and I'm glad you got something out of the seminars at PRI.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's been a pleasure having you on. I appreciate the kind words about the show for sure. Well, guys, if you want, head on over, show Scott some love on Gits, go follow the Facebook, and if you're a track owner, go claim your dang racetrack, brother. Like, what are you doing?
It's free.
Yeah, it is free 50. Go claim your racetrack. But guys, with that being said, Scott, I thank you one more time for coming on the show, and we will catch you in the next one. Brother, what are you still doing here? Check out some of these social medias below me. If you're not following, go change that today.